Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jenny Beal, and this is the Living in Not Knowing section of the Awareness podcast. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Sam Visser. I'll start by telling you a little bit about his background. Sam is a psychotherapist specializing mainly in acceptance and commitment therapy. Although he was brought up in a Christian family, he had little interest in spirituality until his early 20s, when he stumbled across a book on Zen, which seemed to offer what he was looking for. He thought about becoming a monk, but he didn't actually become a monk, although for some years he spent almost all his spare time at a Zen monastery in England, meditating for many hours and doing chores at the monastery. He later came across Osho and spent many years as a sannyasin, living in Osho communities in the Netherlands. But it was the extraordinary and disastrous events in the Osho ashram in Oregon that led him to abandon his association with the Osho community. And at that time, he met with Alexander Smit, a Dutch non-duality teacher and friend of Nisargadatta. The non-dual teaching from Alexander made a deep impression on him, and he went on to explore teachings of several other non-duality teachers, including Rupert Spira. From 2014 onwards, he attended most of Rupert's retreats and weekends in Europe. And through Rupert, he came to understand the difference between the progressive and direct paths and gained a much deeper understanding. More recently, he became interested in the teaching of Francis Lucille. And Sam now lives a life of causeless peace, having understood the power of effortless surrender. He continues to work as a psychotherapist, and while he doesn't normally talk to his clients about the non-dual philosophy, his interactions with them are underpinned by his understanding of our true nature as one universal being. So, Sam, your spiritual journey started with a book about Zen. What did you find in that book that was so interesting for you?
Well, I'm not quite sure I understand what I read there, but it hit me in a very severe way, and I don't know. It was like I wasn't really interested in church when I was younger, but there has always been a feeling all through my teens that there was something missing in what I saw people doing and talking about, and somehow when I picked up this Zen book, it was just a small book, and I thought, oh, that those people know, what it's all about. But it was very mysterious to me. But I knew that was the direction I had to go in. So I don't know what happened. It's actually very special when you don't understand what you're reading, but still I was convinced, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so it was a kind of following of not knowing, wasn't it, in a way?
Oh yes.
It was leading you somewhere, but you didn't know where it was leading you.
No.
Yes.
So and then it was early 70s, so no internet, no nothing, no information.
Yes.
So I quickly I had almost packed my bags to go to Japan to become a monk. But I never made it to Japan because I don't know how I discovered there was a monastery in Northumberland, and it's still there. And so and so I went there. I didn't know what to do, and when I came there, they didn't let me in. you know.
Why was that?
Well, there was a session going on, it's sort of what we would call now a retreat. But
Yes.
I didn't know anything. I just knew the address and I just showed up. I didn't.
Right.
So, and they said, no, you can't come in, maybe next week, next week when the session is over, you're welcome to come here. And if you go that way, all over the hill, walk, no public transport, and there's a youth hostel, and maybe you can stay there, So, and then I found out there was a Tibetan center in Samiling in Scotland, and I went there for a few days, and then I went back to the monastery, and that's when it all started.
Yes, I mean, Zen is quite a tough and disciplined path, isn't it? Really, many hours of meditation each day.
Oh yes, especially with the sessions, and I once did a session where I was ordained as a lay monk, as a sort of, and you just sit in front of a wall for all day.
Yeah.
And there's no emotions, no one talks about what you feel or emotions or, nothing like that, it's so different.
Yes, well, there's something about that you felt that you needed, something about that toughness.
Yes. And then I think I had this romantic idea that if you sit long enough, you sit in front of this wall, and then your reward will be enlightenment.
Right. And at that point, what did you imagine enlightenment to be?
Well, I thought it would sort of give me the ability, or maybe the power, to alleviate the suffering in the world.
Right.
Because that was the suffering still, that's what I hear from many people, of course, that's the way in, to spirituality. Not with all people, but, with many people, so that's, and Zen often talks about that, about suffering and being a bodhisattva, not going into nirvana before all the sentient beings have been liberated, stuff like that,
Yes.
Very healing. I thought, I could make a difference in the world,
Yes, and I guess that in a way stayed with you, and that's why ultimately you became a psychotherapist. Part of that relief of suffering that you were contemplating during your time in the Zen monastery. So how did that transition to Osho come about? Because that's the most extraordinary contrast with Zen, isn't it, really?
It is. It couldn't be much more apart, because I just said, in Zen, you're not supposed to talk about your feelings. You just sit there and deal with whatever comes up in your meditation. And with Osho, well, actually, it was quite a lonely time in when I was in the Netherlands, because in the Netherlands I didn't know anybody. Of course, in the Zen monastery I knew a few people, but in the Netherlands I didn't know anybody who was interested and in spirituality in this way. And so then, through friends and family, my brother was sannyasin, and then I came into contact with that, and that was the total opposite. That people in with Osho, everybody's hugging everybody all of the time. It can become a bit much. Yeah, okay, okay, enough. So, but still, and there, it's all about emotions.
Yes.
And actually, I found that a lot of sannyasins didn't have a clue about silent meditation. Nothing.
Yeah.
They thought meditation is active and throwing out all these emotions, and it serves a purpose, but that's a bit what Osho thought, that all these Westerners, they carry with them so much, repressed emotions. First you have to, relieve yourself of all this, this stuff, and then
Yes.
then then you will become ready to do some other steps. But I thought many people never made it to the other steps. Well, of course,
Yes.
also fun, a lot of fun, and but then, as you just said in the introduction, then what happened in Oregon, it was disastrous and very.
How did you find out about that? Because I would have expected that to have been kept a bit secret.
Yes, well, it was, for a while it was a bit secret, but when I went to Oregon, there were already people walking with machine guns, to sort of, it's America, it's protection, it's.
Well, yes.
What?
Did you actually meet Osho there?
Yes. And at that time, he stopped talking. That's what, Indian gurus often do. After a while, they just stop talking, and he would just drive. There were just drive-bys, in his Rolls Royces, And it was very impressive, actually.
Yes.
And he would just come and sit on the stage, and there was music, and but he didn't talk until, let's say the shit hit the fan, and then he started talking again. But then I wasn't interested. It wasn't. He started talking about all kinds of other stuff, about what was happening there, and then slowly you got the information, and it was public information also, because they took over the small town which was close by, and a sannyasin became mayor, and it's for a spiritual community, you can't believe that happened, but it has happened before, of course, in spiritual communities. I don't know.
That was quite an extreme example.
Yes.
Many people listening to this may have watched the Netflix documentary series Wild Country, which describes it, and I watched that. I could hardly believe that could possibly have happened to a spiritual community.
The thing about this documentary, of course, I still haven't watched it because I know the story, but all the emphasis is on that story. It's not about his teaching and about the love I still have for him.
Yes.
And that, so I don't want to see it. Not yet, anyway.
Yes. A lot of it was really about a spiritual organization taking control, really, and we don't know to what extent Osho actually knew what was going on. Do we?
All kinds of stories, of course, but I don't know. Really. No,
Yes.
I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying he did. I don't know.
Well, were there lessons you learned from that about the relationship with a teacher and the teaching?
Yes. Well, you still have to keep thinking for yourself. Is this
Yes.
feel okay? For me, whatever the reason. And at a certain point, it didn't feel good anymore. I didn't lose faith in him as a guru teacher, but the whole stuff around it, I thought, I don't want to be associated with it anymore. So I sort of turned my back to it, and then I didn't the last bits I didn't really follow. I heard it later, and it's very disappointing and sad.
Yes.
People
Yes.
went to jail, and it was really awful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it must be very tough for you, because you left that community in the Netherlands that you were living in. You left your home, and I guess left behind many of the friendships that
Yes.
that you had.
It was very confusing for many people, and but already then, I lived in a very big therapeutic community for a while, and then I went on to a small community with 10 grown-ups and 5 children and a dog, as I remember. The same village I'm in now, actually. So and that was fun, but it was very inward facing, because everybody came to us.
Yes.
This small community, there were always things going on, and meditations and parties and fun and whatever. So it was nice. And then later on, communities have the tendency to stop working, after so many years.
Yes.
So, and then I went away and started living with my then girlfriend somewhere around here. So it's well.
And then at some point you met a Dutch non-duality teacher, Alexander Smit.
Yes, he was something else. He was, that somehow I seem to be attracted to a bit of the rebel, the rebel,
Yes.
So I thought Zen was quite extreme, and then Osho was quite extreme, and then Alexander Smit also was quite an, at first I was scared of him. He spent quite a lot of time with Nisargadatta, and they became friends. But at a certain point, Nisargadatta sent him away. They got into a quarrel, and he said, "You go. I don't want to see you anymore." But Alexander Smit, he next day he just turned up again. It was and it was we had meetings in a small room in a house which was owned by a yoga teacher somewhere in Holland, and it was cramped. It was so many people in this small room. So, and it's and for a while I followed him and other people who did retreats, Adyashanti, Gangaji, Tony Parsons, and all these people, did weekends in Holland and in Netherlands, and so but the non-duality was I don't know what that did to me, because it is, at first it was I found it hard to follow what there's a lot of also a lot of intellectual mind, then you can do that, I know, and there's certain things, also that Rupert talks about sometimes with you or Francis, or, and then, that's not how my mind works. I just don't understand, and I don't care, actually. Okay, probably not for me,
Yes.
Okay, but at first I thought, I had to understand everything, and I didn't. And I remember when the first few times when I came out of the meeting with Alexander, my head felt about 4 times as big. It was, but yeah, but I find it amazing because the first bit of understanding that the progressive path of Zen and of Osho, that was not the only thing, not the only approach, and that intrigued me. It's I thought, wow, what is this? It's so, and then life just takes its way, and then I became a father again, and then that, of course, then that takes a lot of attention, and so yes. For a while it sort of subsided, the interest in subsided a bit. So, and then I think, and then at a certain point, I met Rupert for the first time in 2009, I think, just for one. He was still in his beginning of his teaching, I think, and yes. in Antwerp, in Belgium. Mm-hmm. And I think there were about 10 people, which is different from now.
Yes, so, yes, very, very different. Yeah. But the direct path is very hard sometimes for people when they've been on a progressive path, because they are used to the idea of having to do something to purify the mind or purify the body, or both.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's quite a leap, isn't it?
Oh, it is an enormous leap, because there's something, when you hear it, but there's something in me that couldn't believe that, I thought.
Yes, it sort of doesn't make sense, does it, initially? Yes.
You have to do, have to set all these, make all these steps, and then, and
yes.
And then you come to a different, to a higher level, all these levels.
Yes, yes.
and then suddenly someone tells you there are no levels. Well, that was a shock,
yes.
And you've been on this path for, a few decades, and then you think you probably somehow you think you're on a certain level,
Yes.
and then someone comes along and he says, there are no levels. What? And, so
how did you come to terms with that whole idea that there's nothing you need to do to purify or improve yourself, your body, or your mind?
Well, that took quite some time, because before Rupert, I already spent the idea there is no doer, but that is tricky, if you don't really understand what that means.
Yes.
I don't I don't have to do anything, I just don't have to pay any attention to whatever, just and it's it in the end it's true, but in the beginning when you hear that, you don't understand,
Yes.
And it's, and it's also somehow it's appealing. Oh, I have done so many things, and now suddenly I don't have to do anything. In the end, of course, I found out that isn't true either.
Yes, yes.
So it's and and with all the encounters with Rupert, and then I often talk about it to people, like, when they say, well, he's always saying the same thing, or the same, no, I've heard that, and I know that, and I know what will be next, and and then, of course, I often sat there and I thought, okay, especially with Rupert, I know what the next sentence will be, or but then suddenly, then there would be what I call a sort of trap door, and then I oh, that is what he means. I thought I understood, but
Yes.
so and that has happened so many times. I was sitting there and trying to sit there in a sort of as if I heard it for the first time.
Yes.
And that is a wonderful place to be in. I've net even if a part of my mind says, I know exactly what word he's going to use next, it's but this is the first time I ever hear this. I'm hearing this, and that was beautiful. So, and then, but over the years, it's more like, when I look back, then I think, so much has happened, I never had this great awakening, or and that's, of course, especially with Zen, you get Satori, and you get whatever, and
Yes.
when you're there, you get this stamp, and this is it. Yeah, well, it's so. And sometimes you meet people who have had this great experiences, but it's I'm not looking for any experiences anymore, which is so peaceful.
Yes, because it isn't really an experience at all, is it? It's
no.
It's an understanding. It's a way of seeing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's
Yes.
yeah.
But interesting what you're saying about openness and hearing things for the first time, because one of the things people used to say about Jean Klein was, when you met him, even though you knew him, he always saw you as if for the first time, and treated you that way, as though he hadn't seen you before. And that's lovely. It's a lovely kind of openness, and I think that's really, really important in this teaching.
Yes, exactly. And it's and now that I listen more and more to Francis, it's even that the fact that Francis is Rupert's teaching, they're so different,
Yes, exactly.
It's, and the retreat the other day, and with Francis, for me, it's another compared to Rupert, Francis is the next rebel for me. You know, he says
Yes.
things that that would never come out of the mouth of Rupert, which it's and I love that.
Yes, yes, it's a tremendous freedom, isn't
Oh
it? Not being bound by any kind of
no,
convention.
no, no.
Yes.
So that's I love that. That's yeah.
Because he places a lot of emphasis on not knowing and living in not knowing, doesn't he? And that must have been new for you because it doesn't really occur in any of the teachings you had previously.
No, that's true. Yeah. So still sort of trying to get my head around it a bit. It's because as you say, it's new, but but in my experience, if you could call it like that, it's actually not new. But it's just the wording of it.
Yes.
Sometimes that's because words are so can be so important in the way of course I know that from my work as well. That some people are hardly able to give words to their experience, to their feelings, and then it seems like they're not feeling. But that is not true.
Yes.
It's so that's I think that's what we need teachers for but I loved it.
Yes. Yes.
So it's yeah.
So moving on to your work as a psychotherapist, it seems to me that not knowing must be fundamental in a way to what you do, because there's your own not knowing when a new client walks in or an existing client, that kind of openness without judging. But there's also from the point of view of the clients themselves, because people want certainty, don't they?
They want certainty.
Certainty, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, and it's that's one of the main things I try to help them see or feel or understand, that certainty is really, on any level, you could say, is an illusion.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you really embrace that idea, it leads to total freedom instead of fear.
Yes.
So
yes,
that
exactly.
and of course they come in. I have many people with depressions and anxiety problems and chronic pain and stuff like that, and of course they always want to get rid of it. They want to get away from the feeling.
Yeah.
And that so that's
how do you help them to see that uncertainty is not something to be afraid of, that certainty is not something to be particularly valued?
Well, it is many things. Although the main thing I try to show them is about what does the wish for certainty leads to suffering.
Yes.
And it is the resistance to the reality of this moment that creates the suffering. And I have this this one-liner I often use. In Dutch, it sounds better this time than in English. In Dutch, you probably won't understand, but I'll say it anyway. It's in het heden wordt niet geleden. I don't think you understand, right?
I don't understand that, no.
Well, roughly translated, it is there is no suffering in the now.
Yes.
And I use everything I can, to make them feel that, one of the things I often ask them, do you have a problem now on this chair here? And there has not been anyone yet who says yes. Well, when they say yes, they don't understand my question, or they think, I have pain, but I'm not talking about physical pain.
Yes.
And then when they say yes, or no, I don't have a problem now, and I say that is always the case. It's always like that. And when people go, what? So it's when they understand that resistance and wanting the world to be different, if they I teach them in the end. I always teach them, that if they can't do anything about it now, then the only way is surrender.
Yes.
And surrender always points to the same place, the now.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the only place it points to.
Mm.
And of course, at first people say, yeah, I understand, but but my circumstances. So and then I have them practice this at home, and make it quite simple. Just ask yourself, am I having a problem now? Can I do something about it? Yes, do something about it. No, okay. Surrender.
Yes.
And it's and sometimes after a while, people say, you mean that it's that simple? And I love that. Say that, I think, yes.
Yes.
It's maybe not easy, but it's simple.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's entirely logical, isn't it, as well?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's as you said in the introduction, I don't often talk about non-duality with my
But
clients.
that is actually pure Francis teaching, isn't it? Look, you've got a practical problem. Look at practical solutions. Take whatever solutions you can. Once you've taken all the solutions you can, then you just accept whatever's there. And
it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and then I said, so what's the problem? Yes, but I feel like this, and then I say, so what? Well, you have to be careful. You have to, of course, have a good connection with
yes, yes, I guess.
Also, when people come to me with chronic pain, they have been to every doctor in the country, and they come to me, and the doctors they say we can't do anything about it anymore. And then the first thing I say is, I'm not going to do anything about your pain. And sometimes people are really taking aback, so they think, maybe this person will, make the pain go away.
Yes.
And so it's, and when after a while people say, I'm not sure that my pain has become so much less, but I do feel so much better. And, I do feel much more at ease. And so the quality of their life has improved tremendously.
Mm. Of
And
course, sometimes the pain might have diminished because part of the pain might be to do with some of the tension and anxiety that they're feeling about the pain and about the condition.
yeah, but it's so I often explain to them that attention makes everything bigger. So when you want the pain to go away, you put all this attention on the pain, which makes it in your experience makes it much bigger.
Yes.
But what you say is true, but you don't know, in this field where I work, it's not medical science, you can't really measure, all these things,
Yes.
but it's so that approach it's so powerful, and it's
Yes.
and so I show them quite quickly that they have influence on their suffering. So many people, of course, think suffering is what happens to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell, no, it's not what happens to you. It's what you do with
Yes.
what happens to you. And of course, and often people say, yeah, that's easier said than done. I say, you're quite right. It's still true. and and for many people this works beautifully, and some
Yes.
people of course want to hang on to their separate self, and they're suffering, and that's and sometimes the talking, the verbal therapy is not for them. They should go to body work, and stuff like that. So and sometimes people need longer treatment for whatever reason, so it's
Yes.
but it's I still love this work. I couldn't, but at this moment I couldn't think of a better job.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, and
So relationships are often a cause of suffering. Do you deal with people with relationship problems also?
yes, for many years I also saw couples, couple therapy, but here now where I am, the insurance companies don't want to pay for that anymore. So and so I can't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
Where I'm at the moment, so I have to refer them to other people. But well, I'm a bit sorry that I can't do more of that, because it's quite different, to work with individuals or to work with couples, of course.
Yes.
So for a few years already, I haven't really done any real couple therapy. Sometimes, that I have a client and his or her partner comes along for one or two, sessions, but that's different, That's so, yeah.
Yes. So, what does living in not knowing mean for you now in your ordinary, everyday life outside of your profession?
Well, it for me it is what I thought about a few things before this meeting, and I thought, how would I say what try to explain how this works for me, and one of the things I thought of was when I'm in sync with reality, the mind falls silent. For me, it's so what I said before, this causeless peace is, it's more and more when there's not a lot going on around me, then it's just so silent, and it's silent in me,
Yes.
it's and it is utter freedom, and the not knowing is for me is that, is total freedom, it's all is well, Robert Adams,
Yes.
I love that.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, it's
yes.
I have all his lessons on my iPhone, and minutes I sometimes read it back. It's something else, and it's and I often remind myself of, I also love that, and I think it was Krishnamurti who said that, I don't mind what happens, and if you really, remind yourself over and over again, it's well, words, fall short.
Yes, it's resistance, isn't it, to what happens, which can get in the way.
Yes. So it is that for me leads to the simplicity that I don't know if it is simple. I don't, there's nothing, even if I still want to go to Francis and maybe to Rupert, I don't know, but there's nothing I want to get there anymore. There's nothing I lack. It is not, it's,
yes.
but I sometimes see it also in the retreats, people asking questions and think, wow, that's interesting, still, it's not, I don't need to know all that, and sometimes it's okay, but there's so many things I don't know, and also about, what did Francis say the other day? That you are, but you don't know what you are.
Yes, he said that's the important thing about not knowing. It's not not knowing how to drive or how to play tennis or whatever. It's it's not. I guess because if you think I know what I am, then you're really conceptualizing your real self as an object, and then you're into defending that object, I guess.
Yes, quite. And that's also part of the reason why I like the acceptance and commitment therapy approach, because they talk about the self. I'm not sure they're all totally on the same page, but still, they talk about the conceptualized self and the transcendent self.
Yes.
I haven't heard that in other therapy forms. It's especially the sort of holy grail of this moment, the cognitive behavioral therapy. Okay. So, yes. So that's, and I read the act, when they talk about that, they said it's undermining the attachment to the conceptualized self. And as for therapy, that's, quite a statement, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And then I just read the sentence, and then opening the mental space to become aware of the perspective taking that underlies a sense of self that is continuously present. Wow, that's coming quite close, isn't it?
It's coming very close.
Yes. And then the transcendent self is distinct from content, but it does contain the content.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and I'm not sure that the people who, my colleagues who also use ACT, if they quite understand, that there is another step, and then, it's the first time I came across this, I thought, what? I was surprised. So that's why I think it's for me it's closest, in therapy form or school to non-duality.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other, you've mentioned the sense of lack, sort of one of the roots of the feeling of separation. But the other one is the fear of death. Are you afraid of dying?
Not at all.
Yeah.
And it's always you can say that, but I had a chance to put it to the test. About 20 years ago. No, 24. Suddenly I got rushed off to the hospital with the sirens blaring, and since then I have a pacemaker. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then in the hospital, the cardiologist said to my then wife, he said, please warn the family, So was serious.
It was pretty close, yes.
And yes. And I didn't feel unwell, so I lay there in this bed making jokes, but he didn't like it. He said to the people around my bed, he said, you pay close attention to him, yes, So and then I was taking off to the
ICU, yes.
Yeah, ICU.
Intensive care unit, yes.
And then you're not taking there for nothing. They don't know if you will make it, and then they I was lying there, and of course my wife was upset, and and I wasn't, not at all. I just told her, I said, whatever happens, we had such a good time together.
That's lovely. That's beautiful.
You couldn't quite appreciate it totally.
I can imagine. Oh dear. But that is
you might watch this, so I told her yesterday that I would do this with you. I said, see that,
Yes.
We're not together anymore, but still good friends.
Yes.
No. But so that was the test, No.
Yes, that was a very, very big test.
Yes. So I feel that a bit as a sort of small gift, okay, I really know that, no, not at all, of course I hope I don't suffer all these physical pains and all that,
Yeah.
But dying in itself, no. I'll just go very easily.
Yes. It's really seeing life as a drama in a way, isn't it? We don't know what's going to happen.
No.
If we did know, it would be boring, like
Right.
knowing things, knowing what's going to happen in a play. You don't want to know in advance.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
No.
want to watch it as it happens, and it's an adventure, and it does end with death of the body. For all of us, it ends with death of the body.
And this world, I see myself, doing all kinds of things in this world. And sometimes, I'm even, sort of, I look at myself and my own behavior in sort of amazement. Oh, that's peculiar, Okay, I don't know why that is, So it's more and more, I don't interfere with this, manifestation, which now is called Sam, okay, and also in my work, so often, I hear the question and I hear the answer, but but there's just I lean back and I listen to the conversation,
Yes.
and sometimes I think, wow, that's interesting, what I hear myself say, I I just don't interfere, it will take care of itself. And that is also that, the work I work, I think maybe most of my colleagues, except for the owner of the practice, but it doesn't tire me, it just gives me energy, I just sit there. I just sit there, nothing happening. Well, there's a lot happening, but it's not me. So I just sort of, it's like leaning back and here, there's this conversation going. And it's lovely work, and I still get paid for it as well, what do you want?
But it's a lovely way of living our whole life, isn't it? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, and it's and for quite some time now, especially since my son has been going to live on his own, I live alone and I love it. It's I'm so glad that when I get home, there's nobody there. It's quiet and it's and I enjoy life, and and when there's time to meet friends, I meet friends, but every time I already talk to so many people, so in the evening I think people do talk a lot, also people I love, and it's okay sometimes, but not all of the time, so
Yes.
life has become a blessing.
Yes. I think that's a beautiful note on which to end. A blessing. And thank you so much, Sam. It's been a delight talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Jenny.